All right, live talking draft night one. We're going to preview round two. As always, I'm Kevin Bunk. He's Michael Merlo, and this is BTO Media. Mike, awesome night one of the draft. I thought we have some good headlines from today that I didn't expect coming in. We have a lot to talk about with the Jets and Giants. We have a lot to talk about with Ty Simpson going to the Rams. I think those are maybe the three biggest headlines, but also a lot of good stuff with Dallas, Kansas City's trade up. Obviously, Mendoza goes first. That's where we'll start. But your instant takeaways, or not instant, but after sleeping on it for a night, takeaways from this NFL draft.
Yeah, it was great, exciting, very happy with what our teams were able to do last night. And obviously the first pick. Was there ever, and correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, I didn't even listen. I was in the car for the first few picks. I didn't even care about putting the draft on for the first overall pick. Do you remember a time where it was so guaranteed, like a lock, like maybe Caleb, where it was just a lock? You knew who was going one.
Yeah, I think Trevor Lawrence was. Caleb, too, also probably felt that way. Yeah, I'm trying to think of other years. I mean, I'm sure, like, not in our lifetime, but the Elway year. But he got traded, too, on draft night, so it wasn't even, like, that was, you had to see what was going to unfold there. It's a good point. Peyton Manning would have been very few times in history. And in this draft, where there's not even a second quarterback to cause uncertainty with it. I mean, Caleb, at least, we probably had a couple weeks of just, is it definitely Caleb or is it Jaden Daniels, who just won the Heisman, to be the first pick? Here, there was nothing else.
You had like Orlovsky a week or two before the draft going, oh, Jaden, like he could be, like he's who I would take first. You had some differences in opinions on who the number one quarterback was, but yeah, that it was like, oh my God, like don't even care.
Yeah, no, it was not intriguing at all. And he wasn't even there. So I mean, fine for him. I don't care. Glad he did what he wants to do. But he wasn't even there to see him on the stage or anything. So it wasn't a huge event watching that pick. All right, well, either way, Vegas gets him. We both, I think, agree that this is their guy and that this is going to work out for them. I like what they've done around it. I don't think he's going to start right away. I'm sure he gets in and plays this year at some point where it matters. But the Raiders probably didn't even have to watch any film to make this pick. They knew it was going to be Mendoza.
Yeah, I was wondering that. Like, how much work did they actually do on Mendoza for this first round where they're, like, sitting there, okay, like, are we even considering not going here? I like him. You know, we've brought up comps. You've brought up a Matt Ryan potential comp. I think at his best he could be Matt Ryan. I don't mind the Kirk Cousins comp either. What they've done around him this offseason has been great. They've added offensive line. They could use a couple of more weapons, but there's still a good foundation in place to go along with Bowers and Genty now. I'm excited for him, and I like that he's not starting. I really do like that he is not starting right away. It's going to be Kirk. He'll play, but this is a good landing spot right now for Fernando Mendoza.
Yeah, they just need him, I think, in this Clint Kubiak offense to end up having that Jared Goff Lions role. You're going to try to build the offense up around him with better offensive line infrastructure going forward, with Genty, with Bowers. I think Mayer's a part of what they're going to try to do there. You added Jalen Nailor to the wide receiver core. The wide receiver room is still very weak, but with Tucker and Nailor and then Bowers, Mayer, Genty, you have enough weapons there to start forming something competent. So that's what you're looking for, distributor. And I think he can play point guard for that offense with the coach really well and be a great culture fit towards building something where they win. But last night in the draft, you go through, 5, 6, 7 months, however long it's been, of us knowing Mendoza was definitely the first pick. Back since like October, we've known that this was going to be the case. We knew the Raiders were going to have it since January. Pick 2 is the uncertainty spot. And it's rare that the second pick is where we're totally uncertain heading in. And the Jets actually do end up going David Bailey. Your thoughts today, again, after getting to sleep on that?
It looked like it was going to be Bailey for the last week. And then the last 2 days, I actually thought it was going to be REESE. There was enough where I'm like, you know what? This doesn't make sense. The Jets haven't let anything out of that building. And all we've heard is Bailey for the last week. I think it's wrong. I think it's going to be REESE. And they actually go Bailey. Listen, We know he can't play in the run, but this guy can rush the passer. The Nick Bonito comp has stuck out for me for the past few weeks. I think he is more of this, like, he's more certain in terms of, like, what kind of player he can be compared to what Arvel Reese is. He's obviously, we know he's an in-betweener. There's no real spot for him right now where you're definitive in where he's going to play. David Bailey could get after the quarterback. And I'm not going to sit here and hate on it. I like Reese. I like Reese a lot. We're obviously going to get to him. But if Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn feel more comfortable going the Bailey route, then I don't think there's any reason not to trust Muji right now based on what he's done so far with the Jets.
I have a feeling, too, based on what I heard John Harbaugh say after last night, that he is playing inside linebacker for them, that teams actually do view him as a linebacker who hopefully is going to bring in 6 to 8 sacks a year and just wreak havoc in the running game and going to be able to cover over the middle in the NFL, which was one of my few concerns. You know how much I love Reese and I love the pick for the Giants, but we'll go more into that later. And the Jets, I think, wanted somebody who gets to the quarterback. They were bottom 3 in sacks last year. They really haven't had a steady edge rusher since, I don't even know, man. Like, it's been a long time for the Jets. They've had blips of John Abraham and Muhammad Wilkerson. And, I mean, Will McDonald now with David Bailey gives you a nice third down rush. I don't like Will McDonald that much, but passing situations, you're going to have a good rush. The thing that kind of bothers me about this pick is people say this is a win in year one move. He's the more ready guy. How much is David Bailey going to be playing on a team that's probably never going to have the lead?
That's a good point. I just think, like, I don't want to even go into that kind of realm of thinking where this is a win now move. Listen, if you told me you can get a guy that's going to rush the passer at a level that you believe this guy can, like a Nick Bonito, again, nothing in the run game. You told me you put that on the Jets in the next 2 to 3 years. You're signing up for that. So I don't think I'm good. Like, I don't want to go too crazy with saying, oh, they made this mistake. This is a big mistake. We could come back to this in 2 years and say, okay, they messed this up, but not right now. Like, if you really liked Reese, you really liked Reese. But at the end of the day, these are two players that I think a lot of people had very high. They were going to go in the top 5 no matter what. I think teams would have came up for Bailey as well. I'm cool with it.
And an interesting wrinkle of this that hasn't been reported too much, the Jets hired Frank Reich to be their offensive coordinator. Frank Reich coached at Stanford last year. He did not coach David Bailey, who was at Stanford prior to Reich, but he brought 3 coaches with him to the Jets that were with Bailey at Stanford, and they allegedly pounded the table. It's probably why they canceled the meeting, because they had 3 people in the building who knew him so well already. Why would you waste one of your 30 visits on a guy that you like his character? And let me ask you this. My perspective now on them canceling that visit is they actually had a pretty sizable gap between Bailey and Reese in how comfortable they were taking him if they canceled that visit a week ago. Because don't you think, as a GM and head coach who are potentially on the hot seat, if you have any doubts that Bailey is not the better pick for you than Reese, that you're taking that meeting and getting him in for a little bit longer just to be sure that this is the right move for you guys?
But do you think it was because they just had no clue where they were going to play him and there was uncertainty about that? Or you think it was, this guy is much higher, or not much higher, but definitely higher on our draft board? That's the one question I would ask.
I think that they probably felt just as confident as John Harbaugh does, and I'm sure that this was every team evaluating Reese, that he was going to play inside linebacker. And everybody probably got on board with that. This is an inside linebacker. This is not a pass rush project we really want to commit to with a top 5 pick. Like, remember Parsons, everybody likes to do the Parsons comparison. He wasn't a top 10 pick. So you can get more leeway doing that outside of the top 10, saying we're taking a little bit of a project here. And that was a guy that they drafted to play inside linebacker too, and it just ended up changing that training camp, but that's a different story. I think the Jets probably allocated positional value to Bailey as a pass rusher and a true edge versus Reese as a guy that they were definitely playing at middle linebacker, and said, Bailey's higher because of that positional value that we're adding to it.
I was listening to, I'm pretty sure it was Sirius XM radio, and the Giants are on the clock and they're still asking questions. They're like, do they actually go Reese here? You obviously have so many guys on the edge. You have Kayvon Thibodeau, you have Brian Burns, you have Abdul Carter, excuse me. So they were basically saying exactly what you said. The people in the building had to be sure that you were comfortable playing him at linebacker. You had to be sure. And if you weren't, and this is probably where the Jets were, you're not going to take him at 2.
And then look at the Jets roster also. For a team that I do think, and a coach, I don't think the pressure of his job made the pick. I don't actually agree with that narrative, but you are putting a roster together that kind of in the same light, like you have to be competitive this year. Whether that's 6 or 7 competitive wins and your losses look a lot better, you have to be somewhat competitive this year and show signs of actual improvement. Look at their roster defensively. Like, where are the gaps? They have no pass rush. Mm-hmm. They signed DeMario Davis. They have Jamie and Sherwood under contract. The Jets were looking at this probably and saying, I know I'm filling a hole with David Bailey. I do not know I'm filling one with REESE until maybe 2028 or 2029 when they are all gone and Reese maybe comes into his own when he's 20. He's only 21 or 20, so like when he comes into his own at 23 or 24, then it'll make sense, but that's not what we're in the market for right now.
Not that the Jets don't have many picks, but do you think they fielded any calls whatsoever for teams that wanted to come up for Reese, if there were any teams that wanted to come up for Reese? Well, if they knew they weren't going that direction.
Muji said after the draft that he did his whole, like, we were taking Bailey. He was our guy. This was where we were going to pick. But then he said, they asked him directly, did you get any calls about the number 2 pick? And he said, nobody wanted it. So I think that they just you're in a spot where, from Bailey to Sonny Styles, or even from Bailey to Caleb Downs, the defenders were so comparable in where teams could have had them that I don't think anybody was going to rush up.
It's a good point. I just think also when you look at like what the Chiefs paid to go up a few spots, it wasn't much. Yeah. Like they didn't you got a couple extra picks. Fine. It wasn't much. It didn't cost them much to go up a couple extra picks.
Muji has to have expectations of them being slightly competitive this year because if they win 3 or 4 games, he's not making the Dallas picks.
See, I think it's more so Glenn. I feel like, and we know Woody Johnson is a nut job, and we know there's really no common sense whatsoever at the top with him. But I feel like Muji has to go into this draft thinking he has a few years. That's
I think you have to always approach that way because you just have to be confident in yourself to do something to keep your job as a person in these positions. But if you're Woody Johnson, are you sitting here and saying, okay, our GM put a team together that's won 6 games in 2 years. We haven't gotten any, we have a bottom 3 offense both years. The defense has been horrible both years, which is possible that this happens. Am I letting him make 3 picks, potentially 2 top 10 picks, and leading this next coach search? I don't think he's going to get that guarantee, and I think he probably knows that.
The Glenn, for me, is the one, obviously, he's on the hot seat.
Yeah.
Muji didn't hire him technically. Like, this is Glenn's year where it's like, all right, if this team is not competitive, you're gone.
Yeah. Speaking of the Jets being competitive, I do think that their following 2 picks of this draft, Sadiq and Cooper, were home runs. And I think that if you wanted REESE like I did, this softened the blow a little bit of you not taking him. But you look at this team on paper, and we know how paper works for the Jets when the season comes around. Probably the best group of offensive talent that they've put together since 2015 when they actually won 10 games and that's their last time they had a winning record.
Love the Sadiq pick. This guy's he's a freak athlete. Athlete. And some of the Jeff fans that are freaking out that, we have Mason Taylor. You're going to use both of them. You are going to use both of these guys.
Taylor's going to be your true tight end. Sadiq's probably your wide receiver too.
And I think it says a lot with Lemon on the board there. They're saying, you know what? this is our guy. And maybe it was because they liked the other wide receivers so much and thought, they liked Boston, they liked Cooper, obviously, and they considered Cooper at 16, according to Rappaport. Like, they're like, all right, we're not going to go Lemon here because he's not that much higher than the other guys, and Sadiq is higher. Yeah, Sadiq, I'm excited. Did you see Frank Reich?
Yeah.
In the draft room? Like, he is pumped up to get him here, and I think it's a really good spot for him as well. And I think if we're just talking about this upcoming season, I think he's going to be a big time weapon for Geno. I think that you need to look competitive. We just talked about it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch this guy in New York.
And let's fast forward to the Muji long game, assuming that he has next year and beyond. If you're drafting Dante Moore or Arch Manning or whoever Julian's saying, how nice does this offense look now? You have Sadiq, Garrett Wilson, Omar Cooper, Mason Taylor, good tackles, good interior players on the offensive line, Breece Hall. I mean, that's a home run situation to walk into next year, and they have 3 picks to potentially make that happen in the first round.
No, we're going to be looking at this spot next year for a quarterback, I think, as we viewed the Bears spot for Caleb Williams. And obviously it ended up working out that way. It ended up not being this ideal spot for a rookie quarterback to walk into because of the coach. But in terms of the players and the infrastructure around him, I think we're going to be sitting here next year saying, oh my God, like Julian Sayans walking into this spot, and they took him wherever they took him, and they traded up, whatever it was.
And I think a cool aspect of the trade up for Cooper, the Jets stole him from the Bills here. They absolutely swept Omar Cooper from Buffalo because they were on the clock with the next pick, I believe, Buffalo, because they had traded back the first time. They had pick 31. The Jets traded up to jump them, drafted Cooper. The Bills immediately traded out again with Tennessee.
Well, it was I noticed that too. And the Jets knew they weren't getting him, and that was really the only spot, right? Those are like, Seattle wasn't taking him.
No.
So you had 30.
Maybe somebody would have traded up to 31 to get him, and that was the concern, or you knew Buffalo was going to take him.
Like, that was interesting. And why trade back? Like, why did they go back? Did they not think the Jets have all the ammo in the world? They didn't think the Jets couldn't come up. This is another situation where they've done this. What, are they going to end up with Boston now today?
And who did Brandon Beane trade up with? New England.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't learn your lesson from trading up with the Chiefs 95 times and they get, they took Xavier Worthy with that. They took Patrick Mahomes with that trade up. I mean, Beane is not beating the bad GM allegations just because of his records.
No, I don't get that. Like, you had, what were they, 26, correct? They were at 26. They moved back with the Patriots.
Yep. They were 26, moved back, and then they went from 26 to move back with Houston, then they were at 28 to move back with New England, then they were at 31 and moved back with Tennessee.
After the Jets took Cooper.
Yeah. So I didn't like those moves at all for Buffalo. And it's just another bad draft operation from Brandon Beane. You got to see who they take today. I mean, if they want Caden McDonald or somebody, and that's who they wanted the whole time, and he falls into their lap, okay. But I think that they probably wanted Omar Cooper because the Jets had 2 reasons to jump up there. One was to jump up Buffalo or whoever was going to take him. 2, you secure a 5th-year option on the guy by only giving up, I think, like pick 193 or something.
It was 179, yeah.
179, yeah. So, like, you don't feel bad about 179 with the amount of picks they have to get a 5th-year option on a player you really like, and you were probably going to take a 33 if he was there. That's what the Panthers did a few years ago with Xavier Legette, which is working out great for them. They're not even going to pick up that option.
And by the way, a player you considered at 16.
Exactly. All right. You want to move on here? Good Jets stuff. Good for the Jets. Good haul. Cardinals at 3, take Jeremiyah Love. Titans at 4, take Carnell Tate. Which one do you want to start with here? Because there's a positional value mess. There's roster fit disasters. There's a ton of stuff to unpack with 2 picks that I don't think either of us like that much, especially the Tate one I hate. But where do you want to go? We'll lump them in together.
Well, the Tate one was more shocking. I don't think the Cardinal pick was as shocking because we had seen it for the last few days now that if they couldn't trade out, which I believe they tried to, that they were going to sit there and take Love. I don't understand it. I don't understand it from their current roster, right? You still have Connor. You have Trey Benson.
Yep.
Didn't they
sign Tyler Algier?
So, like, what's going on here for a team that they're bad? I mean, they are bad team. I don't understand taking a running back here. I can't.
No, it's bad work. And this was the opportunity for them to just take. So for both of these teams, Tennessee and Arizona, before the players they took, I thought they would have considered and maybe should have taken both of the guys the Giants got, REESE and MAUIGOA. I thought REESE was the guy both teams should have gone after. But then MAUIGOA would have made sense for both of them also. And they take two skill players. Again, I said it a million times. You got to throw positional value out in this draft. It didn't really matter to teams, and it shouldn't have. I mean, the first from 3 to 9, you have running back, wide receiver, middle linebacker, cornerback, linebacker. I mean, middle linebacker, excuse me, wide receiver go. Like there was no position value in this class, but I mean, I thought these were stupid picks.
Love's a great player. Like nobody's denying that he's one of the best players in the draft. So if another team, like, I think it would have made a little bit more sense for the Titans, and the Titans obviously wanted him. I think it was very obvious the Titans wanted Jeremiyah Love. So they're kind of thrown off guard here when Love goes right before them, and now they're saying, okay, do we go defense? Which I thought they were absolutely going to go, but like it just. Where the Cardinals are right now, they don't have a quarterback, obviously. They need offensive line. I feel like I like MAUIGOA a lot. Wouldn't that have felt like a reach, though, at 3? Or would have you sat here and said, all right, he's not the best player available, but you filled the need? I don't think you could do that at 3 in their spot right now.
I think they were desperate for a trade back to try and find some value. The way Cleveland did it, I thought Cleveland executed that nicely, going back for Spencer Fano, but this roster for Arizona, right? They don't even end up walking away with Ty Simpson in this draft. So Jacoby Brissett and Gardner Minshew are your quarterbacks. Jeremiyah Love, Tyler Algier, James Conner, Trey Benson are 4 of your maybe 6 best players on offense. They're all running backs. Marvin Harrison Jr. and Michael Wilson and Kendrick Bourne are your 3 receivers. I mean, maybe LaFleur can get that untapped potential out of Marv. Wouldn't be surprised, but that's a terrible receiving core, all things considered. And then Trey McBride's great, and the offensive line stinks.
The problem is the offensive line. I don't mind the weapons that they have. I just have an issue with their offensive line.
Yeah, and their defense is horrible.
Yeah.
You had a great opportunity to take defense here. And now, in hindsight, I think the trade back didn't make any sense to actually happen because think about the narratives on these guys. If you're Kansas City or New Orleans or whatever, Dallas, trying to trade up for defenders, you're saying Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles, like I'm going to get one of them if I'm Washington, right? I'm fine with either middle linebacker because that's where we're projecting both of the guys. And then Dallas is saying, like, the board's going to fall. I mean, you kind of knew the whole time Downs was going to fall out of the top 9 after the Giants didn't take him at 5.
Yes. Yeah, you thought I sat there after the Giants had taken him at 5 and said he might be available at 10. He is. They don't go that direction. Dallas is in a great spot because it was the worst kept secret in the world that they wanted him. There was really no, like, I thought Kansas City would have came up for one of the pass rushers. And then when they come up to 6, I'm thinking, oh, the Giants are taking Downs because why would they come up? Not realizing, in the moment that they had this massive need for the corner, because they lost McDuffie, they lost the other guy to the Rams as well. It was fat. That whole turning point there was fascinating. When they go Tate, when the Titans go Tate, which I really hated. I really cannot stand that pick. It all flipped on its head.
And even with the Jets taking Bailey, it just got disrupted because you go to this weird gray area of Arvell Reese. Like, who's going to take him? How far is he going to fall? Would the Giants have taken Caleb Downs? It was a fun stretch. I like that all unfolded the way it did because it made watching the draft so much more exciting last night. But how about the 8-minute pick clock too? How fast this moved?
It was a little too fast.
It was a little too quick.
A little too quick.
I mean, it was fun. It was fine for the bottom 16 picks.
Yes.
But the top, like those lottery picks, you almost want a little bit more time to break down the picks, a little bit more suspense, because right after the 4th or 5th pick, I kept saying like, oh, wow, they got that pick in fast. But No, it's just everybody has to get it in quickly now, except for the Steelers.
It was funny because, like, I love seeing. I was watching on ESPN.
Yep, me too.
The pick is in, and it's when the Giants went 10. I'm thinking it was it was instant, and obviously it's done a lot. They know exactly who's picked once the pick is in the draft room. But I'm like, it's funny. I was like, this is Downs. Like, this has to be. It was in that quickly. I'm like, oh, this is Caleb Downs.
Yeah. And it ends up being MAUIGOA, who, let's go to the Giants for a second. First of all, have you unpacked their top 4 on the board? Do you have a comprehensive understanding of what it looked like, as I do? Their top 4 players?
It was REESE, Love, MAUIGOA, Downs, I'm pretty sure.
No, it's close. Mendoza was first.
Oh, okay.
And then that same order. REESE, Love, MAUIGOA, and then maybe Downs, Styles after. I don't know who came after.
Yeah.
But fascinating to me that if the Jets took REESE and then Love went to Arizona, the Giants probably take MAUIGOA at 5, and then it's probably Downs at 10.
It is. I saw the tweet from Leonard that I can't believe Mendoza was the number 1 player. That's interesting.
Because the second Harbaugh made sure he said he was our top-ranked non-quarterback.
Yeah.
That tells me Mendoza was 1.
Yeah.
Which maybe because of the way teams factor in positional value, he might have been everybody's 1.
Right. I think they killed it. Like, you get your highest rated non-quarterback. You get a guy that is going to make an impact on your defense. One of, if not, the best defensive player in the draft. And then you fill a need.
Yep.
You get one of the better offensive linemen, the Hawaiian offensive lineman. Like, sure.
That's big.
Sure.
I thought that offensive line was a huge need, too. I thought Giants fans were really downplaying it. And I know that you're a big O-line guy, but I thought Giants fans totally downplayed how bad I think their interior offensive line is, and now how much better I feel about their team today that they actually took a guard.
Well, it's like he's going to play guard. We know he's going to play guard. I love that there's insurances now for both of your tackles, too, more so than you had. You drafted Bo last year, who I don't love. He showed some signs last season.
Mm-hmm.
But now you really have this great insurance for both of those tackles who are up there in age, and it feels good. Harbaugh kept saying, and I don't know why Giant fans didn't realize this.
Yeah, we've spoken about this too, but go ahead.
He kept saying, this is an unfinished product. I do not like this offensive line. So don't love this offensive line. Excuse me. They had to bring Illuminor back. They do it. It was like the Tyson stuff, we were texting about that all week, how we really didn't believe it from a Giant standpoint that they were actually going to go wide receiver over a tackle here. And he fell right into their laps. So I was very happy when that was the pick. I know it's not the sexy pick. I know it's not the pick that a lot of fans would have wanted. Malik Neighbors wasn't happy about it, by the way. Hey, Malik, please shut up.
Yeah.
Let Harbaugh do his work. Let Dawn Aponte do her work. Let Joe Shane do his work.
Do not let Joe Shane do his work.
Did you see the press conference?
Oh my God. Like, he's on like a short, it's when they speak, it feels like Harbaugh is standing next to him with like a really short leash and like choker collar around his neck. And just everything he says he's like a puppet now.
Like the question about Thibodeau, they were like, are you going to trade Thibodeau? And Harbaugh he starts shaking his head. He makes a face. He's like, why? We don't get rid of good players. And he goes, right, Joe? And then Joe goes, yep. Just like startled.
Like the whole time he's like sweating as Harbaugh speaks, just ready to get, right, Joe? Because that happened, that whole press conference that Harbaugh got introduced was all long answer from Harbaugh, and he just go, right, Joe? At the end.
It's so
hilarious.
It's so
great.
Funny.
I think also to your point about tackle depth now, you have Illuminor and Andrew Thomas, who, Illuminor aging, we know Thomas doesn't play much. Bo, MAUIGOA, I know we don't want to hear this, but Evan Neal, Daniel Falele all have, and Runyon, all have tackle versatility. they've all played it before, and they were all highly touted college tackles who move into guard. So you have 5 guys who I feel like, based on their position on the depth chart, Falele not being a starter, Neal probably being a third stringer if he makes the team, you don't feel like their spot on the depth chart is bad value. Like, even Evan Neal as your third string right side lineman feels like fine value on a non-guaranteed contract.
Yeah, you got to feel good. You have to feel good about the way they've gone about, I think, the entire offseason in general, but especially here, adding depth. They've continued to add depth. They didn't make that big signing at guard. They didn't make, obviously they made the tackle signing. They brought Illuminor back, which I think was a must, because you don't know what you're going to get when you get to draft season, right? You had to bring them back. Yeah, they've done a good job building up the depth, especially inside was a problem, and I don't feel like it's a problem right now.
Yeah, you feel comfortable with it. And now, I got 2 more questions for you. First, actually, let's go here. With REESE, circle back to REESE. Were you pleased with the interior linebacker assessment and with what they're planning to do with him? It sounds like, as I described before, I think you're looking for a guy to play middle linebacker for you, do the role of middle linebacker, the responsibilities of middle linebacker. I don't think he's going to be an edge rusher in any capacity with the Giants, and still give you some good reps of rushing up the middle. He had that at Ohio State. That's on his tape. That's in his repertoire to rush the passer up the middle, similar to what Roquan Smith did, I think, his first year in Baltimore. Are you happy with that role, or are you more towards we should have taken Sonny Styles if we were going with a middle linebacker, and I'd rather see REESE try to turn into that Parsons project?
I love what Harbaugh said about, just in general, the versatility and positionless defense. If you don't have a plan for him, if you weren't ready for this, then yeah, go Styles. If you had a plan for Styles and you knew what he was going to be, fine. But it feels like they seriously have a plan. They're excited about this, and I'm totally okay with that. And if he was one of your highest, if not your highest rated defensive player, he falls into your lap at 5, you have to take him. I think it was probably unexpected for them, no?
Yeah.
He was there.
I think that they maybe, based on what we heard the last few days and now feeling like it's true, like an hour before the draft starts, Rich Cimini says, I've spoken to 3 teams that are picking high. I'd imagine, as a New York beat reporter for 40 years, one of those teams was the Giants, and they all expect the Jets to take David Bailey. So then you can start to form the board if you're really confident that Bailey's going. And you say Love's going to go 3 or 4. Is there a chance that one of these teams passes on REESE? Probably not. So you don't get your hopes up, but the reality starts to set in. We might get our top player here because the 3 worst organizations in football pick before us, and it could happen that they pass on him. And the Titans were that team. Everybody knew Love was going to go top 4. And if Bailey was going, obviously Mendoza too, there was one slot. Are the Cardinals or Titans not taking Love? And the Titans were the team that did it, and they just made this crazy pick with the TATE pick. Which I
also thought that they could have went Styles there, though.
The Titans?
The Titans could have went Styles.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to go defense if Love wasn't there. I really thought that Saleh was going to kind of pound his fist on the table and say, all right, no, Love, we get it. He's probably our highest rated guy. We're going defense if he's not there.
I think he did that with the Jets. The year after Zach Wilson got drafted, they took Sauce Gardner at 4. Ironically, had the same pick with a second-year quarterback, and they took Sauce. And after the draft, they said, at 4, why was the goal getting defense instead of getting an offensive piece to be with your quarterback and help him grow? And he said a great defense helps the quarterback just as much because there's less pressure on him. And that, I think, is a fair viewpoint. But for him, I think it's about doing it differently and about investing in the quarterback now and saying, I'm calling the plays on defense, so it's going to be good anyways. I'm going to turn it into a good unit. I'm comfortable with that. Their defense is not very good. I mean, they traded back in yesterday for Kendrick Falk, but they have, no linebackers. Their secondary is not very promising, and their running back is still Tony Pollard. So any of REESE, Styles, or Love made a ton of sense. Love's not there. I don't think Tate made a lot of sense for them.
But, and not to just like completely circle back to the pick, but Carnell Tate's never been a number one wide receiver on his team in college.
Yeah, which I don't even get too concerned about, but him getting thrust into a room with Wan'Dale Robinson and Calvin Ridley and Io Manor, like, I don't love the prospect of him just taking off. Because Jackson Smith-Njigba was never the best receiver on Ohio State.
No, he wasn't. But the one thing is, I feel like unless he was their guy and they were obsessed with him, which I highly doubt, you couldn't, and maybe there wasn't a team, but there wasn't a trade back scenario.
Yeah. You feel like somebody, even Kansas City, if you lost value, but then Kansas, like, 9's probably moving too far back to get Tate.
Yeah, but you most likely could have gotten Tyson there too.
Yeah, you just have to see what their gap was in the two players with the injury history of Tyson. It's a really interesting pick because he was not on anyone's top 5 players.
No. To go back to the Giants for a second, where do you go at 37 now?
That's what I was just going to ask you.
You have the defensive tackle, was it McDonald?
Yep, Caden McDonald.
Caden McDonald from Ohio State, which was still a need. They're going to sign Reader, I think, in the next few days, but DJ Reader. But It's still a need. You bring another defensive tackle.
Their defensive tackle room is it's got potential to surprise people, but it's also right now horribly unproven.
Right. I like Darius Alexander. Don't love him. He showed some signs last season, but still a very unproven player. Do you, or if McCoy's there, do you add to that secondary? Because the secondary is still an issue.
McCoy is piquing my curiosity tonight because he might be a top 10 player. He might be the best corner, but it sounds like he absolutely cannot pass a physical because of his knee injury. And it sounds like it's way worse than what Will Johnson had last year. And he was a top 15 player and he fell out of the first round and fell into the 40s for Arizona. Denzel Boston is intriguing for me. For all of these teams, who decides that they're going to add a big 6'4", 6'5" wide receiver? The Giants could use some secondary help too. I don't think they go with a safety. I don't think McNeil Warren makes it to them. But the players I'd probably look at for the Giants, linebackers are off. So I'd say McDonald, Colton Hood from Tennessee, or Jermod McCoy would be the 3 guys that I'd expect one of the 3 falls to 37 and gets taken. But it feels like those positions, right? Like corner or interior defensive line.
Call your shot right now as I'm still having technical issues. Bad technical issues.
My shot would be corner.
Who's the first pick tonight?
The first pick tonight, who has it? San Francisco?
I think so. Yes.
Maybe McNeil Warren. But they might go offensive line also with a guy like Prignon from Oregon. That's a tough one. Because if the Jets were going, I always thought it was just going to be top wide receiver, and they just did it with Cooper.
Right.
And moved up. But I'd say, because they're not going to add a receiver in San Francisco, I don't think, with Pearsall and Evans and McCaffrey and Kittle. I think they need some help on defense. So, yeah, maybe McNeil Warren tonight.
Can I ask another question?
Of course.
Just to completely go off the rails here.
Yeah.
Did you like David Bailey's answer on who he's excited to play and beat the most in the NFL with the Jets?
Yeah, I have a feeling he has no idea how NFL rivalries work.
Yeah, that's what I think.
And he just said the Giants. I've come to really notice, especially with Arvell Reese too. These guys actually have no clue what goes on in the NFL because Sunday's their only day off of the week, and I don't know if they watch football.
That's exactly what I was going to say. These guys they play football. They don't actually watch.
Arvell Reese had no idea who was on the Giants when they asked him that.
He's like, Jackson Dart. Yeah, Jackson Dart.
Yeah, I mean, 45 minutes later, he was like, yeah, Jackson Dart. I'm excited. Quarterback. Yeah. But
he doesn't know that Abdul Carter was just drafted, a year ago.
I will say one thing about Reese that I'm not going to even attribute to whether it was a good pick or bad pick. I don't think he has any idea about anything. I don't think he's smart at all.
Did you see his GPA?
0.4? And then he goes, they asked him the other day, how'd you go from a 0.4 GPA in high school to a 3.7 at Ohio State? And he gives his answer about how he just started to care more. Your tutors did your work, man. I mean, you didn't do any work at Ohio State in the classroom. Come on.
He didn't go to the classroom.
No, he didn't even know what the education buildings are at Ohio State.
God, I love it. I absolutely love it. Just
All
ball
right.
out. Just ball out. That's all we need you to do.
So next few picks, you go Delane, Styles, Tyson, Fano in the draft. Anything that really stood out to you here? I thought a lot of expected stuff happened.
Yeah, Delane was interesting again. I thought they were coming up for a pass rusher. That was, kind of the talk for the last week or so. The Chiefs could be a move-up spot. Not even realizing it was going to be for the corner who they desperately needed. So like that move, and they didn't give up much, but you also love the value that Cleveland got back to go to 9 and get a tackle that I think they really liked in Fanu. And I'm totally okay with, but I really like both of those moves for those teams, especially in their spots.
Yeah, I thought they were both good trade operations. But then let's just swing up. And I thought Sonny Styles was great for Washington to fall there. Yes. Big need. Let's swing it up, though, to Dallas. They make 2 picks. They get Caleb Downs. They also took Malachi Lawrence, which I thought was the first massive reach of the night that I didn't expect. Obviously, Tate was a big reach, but we knew he was a top 10 pick. Malachi Lawrence at 23 kind of came out of nowhere for me. I thought he was going to go in between 40 and 60. Yeah. But they take him at 23, and they end up with Caleb Downs. So you get one guy who I think is by far the safest player of the entire first round to be a really good football player and really an all-pro level guy. And then you pivot to maybe the biggest risk of the first round with Malachi Lawrence. But your thoughts when they got Caleb Downs, what was going through your mind when the Giants passed, the trade-up happens, Dallas gets him? When
the Giants did not take him, it was pretty obvious that I didn't think they'd have to move up a spot, but it was going to be Dallas that got him. So wasn't shocking at all. Dallas, there was a lot of smoke about that, and it was true. It ended up being correct that they liked it. Listen, it's a nice move. You get one of the best players in the draft at 11. I don't know exactly what they traded to. I'm sure it wasn't much to go up one spot, but Dallas has to feel good about what they did at 11. At 23, I've never heard of that guy. So he was not on my radar whatsoever.
Yeah, he was a huge surprise.
But Dallas likes to do that. From time
he's one of those guys that was smaller conference, smaller football school, really raw pass rusher with some great moments, couple injuries, and now you're just hoping that the blips and the real standout stuff on film gets put together in a consistent NFL. I don't know if he's going to be great. It's a huge boomer bust pick.
I like Dallas though. I like Dallas this year. I think they, Pickens is going to play on that franchise tag they announced yesterday. I think that they have a real shot at winning this division this year, especially if Dak is healthy and plays at the level I think we all expect him to play. They improved the defense. They got their center fielder, as they like to say about the safety. So I feel good about Dallas, and obviously you got to love the pick.
Yeah, well, so far also they've turned the Parsons trade into Malachi Lawrence and Quinnen Williams, which I don't right now love, but maybe I'll love it a year from now.
Yeah.
Depending on how their season goes. But good for Dallas. You see the room when they got Caleb Downs, the draft call?
I actually did not.
You could just tell that was they were sweating that out.
Yeah, they were excited.
And he was pumped too. He loves being on Dallas.
Well, I saw him. I saw how excited and emotional he was. Yeah. That's got to be a good feeling. You're a big time player, you're big time school, and you fall a little bit. Yep. But you go to a spot like Dallas where you're going to be in the spotlight again. You go to the Ohio State of the NFL.
You have to wear that helmet, that uniform.
All right, and we're going a little too crazy here. I'm not going to go that crazy.
You get to play for that owner, best ever.
I'm not going to go that crazy, but sure.
Yeah, it's sick. It's sick. It's probably the coolest thing ever.
It would have been cooler for him to be in New York, obviously.
No, it would not have been.
Jersey,
with the Jets, yeah.
Yeah.
Wearing the green and white.
Right.
Over the star. That would have been awesome for him.
By the way, I thought Philly comes up for Lemon. I thought Philly was he's so unpredictable and he had so much ammo. Howie,
yeah.
Where I thought if Downs fell a little bit more, he was getting his Reed. He was getting his what's his Reed blanket chip replacement there.
Yeah, and for a brief moment, I thought about that with the Jets. I was like, you're at 16. If he somehow slips past Miami and Dallas, who both had major needs, then you're in a spot where like 8 or 9 teams are going to start calling the Ravens or the Rams and saying like, we got to get up for this guy.
Yeah.
How about the Rams? This was the stunner of the night for me. Like, I jaw dropped when I saw Ty Simpson pop up.
You know what's funny? And nobody's going to believe me, and that's fine, because I didn't put it anywhere.
Yeah.
I thought this was a spot the entire offseason.
Yeah. I felt it. I just thought, like, go for the win this year, man. Go for it.
McVay's pissed, and I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that. And then you start to read about the Les Snead connection with Simpson and the family. So now I'm sitting here saying, wow, like McVay, I thought this was going to be a McVay pick. Like, this is the guy McVay handpicks for the Stafford replacement. And obviously Stafford's going to be here this year. McVay thinks he could play another one. He said that, I think a week ago. But I'm like, if McVay was on board and McVay says this is the next guy, I love it because you have a great roster. You're currently the favorites. I checked yesterday. They're the favorites to win the Super Bowl right now.
Yep.
So you don't have any massive needs. I'm okay with it, but if McVay's unhappy with it, then why should we sit here and say we love it?
And then they asked Ty Simpson on Sirius XM last night, what do you think of Sean McVay? And he says, I haven't met him yet.
It's crazy.
Like, what was the process here?
And did you also, and I saw this Thursday morning, that one of the, Tyson was in between on staying in college or going to the draft. And I forget exactly who tweeted it out, but one of the people in the NFL that told him, no, you should declare you're absolutely a first-round pick was Les Snead.
Yeah.
He was the one that told him you are going to be a first-round pick no matter what. And he would have been. If the Rams don't take him there, we talked about the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals take him at some point. But fascinating.
If you were the Rams, who would you have taken here at 13? If you were Les Snead, nothing else is involved. Like McVay's emotions are not involved.
I would have. You could have went offensive line. Freeling was still there at that point.
Freeling was there. I mean, Ioane went next.
They could have taken a tackle. So I would have been okay with offensive line. That's what I thought actually they were going to do was offensive line, but
I thought this was the let's get weird Sadiq spot.
Interesting.
And they already have so many good tight ends there, but like he's not going to ever play tight end for them, and he's just going to be your like cracked out wide receiver 3.
Well, I also saw Lemon.
Lemon would have made sense too. Yeah,
for a month. So because I was sitting with my buddy who's a Jet fan, and he really wanted Lemon, and we're looking. It was the Rams, Baltimore, and then Tampa. I said this is the spot where Lemon could go.
Yeah,
he's not going to Baltimore, and he's not going to Tampa. So if he falls out here, and he was like, "You really think they're going to take him?" Like, Adams got one more year and is old. It would not shock me at all if they paired Lemon and Puka for the next few years. So Lemon was a spot as well if they didn't go offensive line. And
McVay admitted earlier in the offseason that they I think at the owners' meetings, that they tried to trade Devontae probably for A.J. Brown, it sounded like. And he said, we were very transparent with Devontae the whole time. Like, we like having you here. You are in trade talks, but I don't know if anything's going to happen with it, but I just want to keep you in the loop. And they ended up not, and I think that they're fine with that because Devontae's great still, but I thought that this was a good spot for another receiver, for Lemon, or even for Denzel Boston, who didn't even go in the first round, but that was just my thoughts last night, that they might want a big body to run that goal line package and that inside 10 yards package that Devontae runs, because Devontae has injuries now. Like he pops up with hamstring injuries. He pops up with some of those soft tissue lower body things that don't really project well moving forward. But just like last thing, I just want to reemphasize this. If you're the Rams, you have maybe the best team in the NFL going into next year. This is what Green Bay did with Jordan Love, and I didn't like it at the time, and I think they could have maybe won a Super Bowl if they added a win now player instead of a developmental piece. Is Jordan Love working out now? Of course he is, because he's their franchise quarterback now. And I think Ty Simpson will be the franchise quarterback in 6 years of the Rams, and we'll say, all right, good job by Les Snead getting his guy. But you're trying to win a ring, and you have, how many opportunities do you actually get to enter a year, as the best team in football and as the betting favorite to win? Go add a winning piece now.
Well, the other thing is, too, remember, Sean McVay threatened to leave a few years back. When Amazon Prime was starting their NFL package, they were willing to pay him $20 million a year to be a color analyst, and he considered it and ended up going back, and I think they won the Super Bowl, or was it after the Super Bowl, whatever it was. He ends up telling Amazon Prime no. But there are rumors about him for years now, potentially at some point when this run is over with Stafford, saying, all right, I'm going to take a break. Maybe I go into the broadcast booth. Let me go be with my model wife for a little bit, and I'll come back to coaching at some point because I'll have my pick at wherever I want to go.
Yep.
So I don't know how much this helps not taking a player that he wanted or is a player that he's not excited about.
Yeah, I don't think this is a great move for the Rams. I really don't. And Simpson could be a complete star there, but if you lose McVay, this pick's for nothing also, because the whole point is having him.
Right. If McVay is on board and McVay is here and McVay is developing him, I love it. I absolutely love it, because I think Ty has a lot of really good traits that could translate well. He's a big guy. He's got a nice arm. He's a little bit athletic. He could be a legitimate NFL quarterback with the right coaching and the right infrastructure. So if it's McVay, totally on board. This is going to be their next franchise quarterback. If it's not, I have no clue what's going to happen.
I will say to Snead's credit, and in defense of the pick, they have experienced a season without Matthew Stafford after the Super Bowl where he did get hurt, and it's very possible that would happen again with his age. And that was a disaster of piecing together quarterback every week. They had that Baker Mayfield run at the end of the season. They ended up winning 6 games. Now you're not in that jeopardy. You feel like at least you have a guy who can come in, and you have a few guys that can come in and say, we're not going to be in a terrible situation if we lose Stafford.
He mentioned Stetson Bennett last night, McVay.
Yeah, he said that they're going to have to compete.
What's going on with that? Is he back? What happened to him?
I don't know.
Are we ever going to find out what happened?
No, I don't think so. Did Garoppolo sign anywhere?
I know. I think he's still there too.
I think he's a free agent.
Because he mentioned Jimmy last night too.
He did?
Unless he was talking in past tense about how important it was to have Jimmy there. He said,
he signed. They re-upped. He signed another 1 year, $4 million this year.
Yeah, he was talking about the importance of having Jimmy.
Wow, so they have 4 quarterbacks there right now. All of them are rosterable guys. Are you going to cut Stetson? Probably.
No, wouldn't they just not?
Or just carry 4?
Wouldn't Simpson not even dress?
Yeah, but he still counts on the 53.
Oh.
He doesn't count on your 46 or 47-man roster going into Sunday. All right, well, either way, rest of the first round, Ioane, great pick for Baltimore. Bain fell to Tampa. Got to take him. They needed an edge rusher.
How much did his little off-the-field issue have anything to do with this?
I don't think anything.
Yeah, because I just felt like this is kind of where he was.
I think this is where he was. And when I was doing my last few mocks, I was just thinking, like, where is the actual team that is going to take Ruben Bain in the top 12 picks? It didn't exist.
Yeah, Kansas City could have been a spot if they stayed at 9. They could use an edge rusher. But...
yeah, and Cincinnati felt like maybe a spot if they didn't make the Dexter Lawrence move. But Miami was the only team I ever thought maybe, but I always thought they were going O-line or secondary.
What about the Saints, though? Because there were rumors about them potentially going up.
Yeah.
To get a
the
pass
Saints,
rusher.
Maybe a bluff there. I think they were always sitting for a receiver now in hindsight, and I felt that way before the draft. I had him taking Tyson in the last mock I did. Just feels like a lot of smoke screens this year about trades. And Brett Veach said, he's like, you're going to see a ton of trades this year. And you saw a lot of like little trades moving up 2 or 3 spots besides his trade with Cleveland, moving up 3 or 4 spots. No one else really made a massive move up trade.
No, I mean, the Philly move up 3 spots, 4 spots.
Not even 2 spots. Yeah. 23 to 20.
I like Bain. I like Bain in Tampa. That's a nice move. You get a guy that a lot of people thought even prior to the draft, probably into the draft, that he's definitely a top 15 player here. So you get a guy that obviously has his flaws, but could be a legitimate pass rusher. Add to that defense. They had a lot of issues last year. They had a lot of injuries last year, but a lot of issues as well. They couldn't really stop anybody at points. So
yeah, I just rip off a few quick takes.
Yeah,
while we're doing, and we could talk about them for a couple seconds each. First of all, let's start with the Mekhi Lemon saga.
Yeah,
that happens here. Gets a phone call from Pittsburgh. Steelers, hey, we're drafting you. It's Omar Khan. We're drafting you to the. Did you see the video?
Yes.
He's like, why are the Eagles calling me right now? And everyone's like, oh, well, they just traded up now, I guess, and we're all screwed. So Philly moves up to get him. They jump Pittsburgh. Last minute deal with Dallas. And then the Steelers are probably just like, we were so locked in on this guy. Now we got to take Max Ionichor. Like, that sucked for Pittsburgh.
How much of a, because I had never heard of this guy, how much of a reach is he at 21?
I don't think he's a major reach because I always thought he was inside the top 35.
Okay.
But I always thought he was bottom 3 or top 3 of the first and second round. Schrager had started to say, Jordan Schultz said it last week too. He said guys that are definitely going in the first round. Ty Simpson was one. Max Ionichor was one. So there were a few guys. Mesidor was one that they were just like definitely going the first. He's only played football for like 4 years.
He's from Nigeria, right? They said.
Yeah. Yep. So I mean,
incredible. Yeah,
that's why Vrabel was in Arizona last month to go to Arizona State to work with this kid one-on-one. That's why he was there.
He just brought a friend with him to keep him company.
Yeah, I mean that's what you don't go alone on these trips,
right? You gotta bring
a long couple of weeks, a lot of traveling.
A lot of travel. You gotta have some fun in between. I get that. All right.
All right, so, there's a non-zero chance that Mike Vrabel resigns this offseason. Non-zero. I'm not saying I expect it, but it could happen. I mean, what do you make of this whole thing right now? I mean, I feel like he's so down bad in this entire situation. Low point of his professional and public career, personal life low point. There's a shot that Josh McDaniels is coaching the Patriots next year.
Kevin? He can go to rehab or therapy or whatever it is on Sunday. He does not have to leave day 3 of the draft. And the Patriots aren't making him do that because they don't give a rat's ass about anything. So I think there's something else coming out in the next day or two that he is leaving on Saturday. So, and he did. I watched his press conference yesterday too. He's basically reiterating the same things he did on Tuesday. This is bad. You might not be wrong. You actually might not be wrong.
If you're Mike Vrabel, there's an obvious scenario. I mean, everyone's going to say like the Patriots would never force him to resign. I know that.
They're not.
But
they're not.
His wife and kids might.
Yes.
Like, there's a family aspect to this of them being at total rock bottom, completely embarrassed, and saying, you got to step away and figure this out for a little bit. And it might even be like Josh McDaniels, you're the interim for a year or for 2 months or for 3 months while Mike Vrabel goes on a retreat to the middle of nowhere with his family and tries to reconnect with them because I can't imagine he's going home to a happy house right now.
They're not sleeping in the same bed.
No, and I mean, is he even sleeping in the same house?
He might not be. He might be at a hotel. The Encore in Boston's very nice hotel casino. You could be there. We know he likes the casinos. He's been there with Diana. So
yes, she's probably there too. She's not sleeping in her house.
Also, let me say this. Is it fair that he gets to keep his job, even though she wasn't fired? She probably was going to be fired, but she leaves the Athletic.
Yeah.
She resigns. Is it really fair for him too, who did the exact same thing, to keep his job as well?
I think, yeah, because I think the standard of the jobs are different. Like that is such a heavy conflict of interest on her part. It is one on his, I guess, but he has no actual stake or responsibility in her reporting the truth. That's her whole job from an ethics standpoint. And for her to do this with a source is bad. The receipts that came up on Rossini too were just undeniable, that continue to come out. And now for VRABEL, I think it's just got to be a little tough to dive back into football right now when this is your life. And the problem overall for him is I don't know where it ends. When does it end that these pictures stop coming out, that the humiliation stops coming out? Because if it's her husband who has money doing this, he might never let up.
I would never let up.
No, why
what
would you?
man would ever let up here?
The only reason you would is for your kids, is to say, like, let's stop putting them through this because this is just a lot right now with their mother. She's still their mom.
It's nuts. And by the way, you'll laugh at this. You think the Patriots, they don't like Elliott Wolf. They're letting Elliott Wolf control more than half of this draft on Saturday. There must be something going on. Like, there's something more that is going to come out that Elliott Wolf is allowed to control day 3 of this draft.
It's a mess. It's a mess.
VRABEL's the guy. I mean, VRABEL is the John Harbaugh to the Joe Shea to the Giants. Like, that's what he is to the Patriots. And, they don't, Elliott Wolf is kind of viewed in that same way over there.
And I don't think that their coaching staff is particularly built to withstand losing VRABEL for any period of time. Like, it's not, it's a good coaching staff because he's the head coach. It's not like Jim Harbaugh, I think, in LA builds coaching staffs where you're like, if they didn't have him for a month, they'd survive. He's a great coach, but they have great coordinators for this that can lead their units. Like, I don't think the Patriots have that.
This is never going away. That's the problem. This is going to lead into the season. It's going to bleed into their locker room if it hasn't already. Yep. Like, that's why I think him stepping away isn't, like you mentioned, completely out of the realm of possibility. It absolutely is on the table.
And now you're on the hook. You're adding A.J. Brown in June.
Yeah, his guy.
I don't know, man. I don't think it's a great situation right now for New England. And I like what they've done this offseason, personnel-wise, to make the team better. But I don't know, man.
What's the coach adding right now? What's the coach adding? Like, not much.
Just negative headlines. That's it.
It's a problem. By the way, this Caleb Lomu, however you say his name.
Oh, God.
It's dance. I mean,
that's a rough look. I mean, with everything going on in Patriots land, Sox got swept. That's the video you need to see of your first round pick.
Bruins down 2-1 now to the Sabres.
Yeah,
come on.
Bruins are toast.
This is not good.
All right, let's round it out here. I thought Kansas City did a nice job getting Peter Woods late. Seattle, Jadarian Price. We probably won't even see a running back get taken tonight until late 3rd round. Casey Concepcion pick I didn't like. Thieneman, good pick, Chicago.
Blake Miller, who was his? Was he a first rounder?
Oh, the
tackle from Clemson that went to Detroit.
I know that Jeremiyah had him as I think he had him as like his 19th ranked player. Okay. So that makes sense. A lot of guys had him high. A lot of guys had him closer to 40. He was always going to be a first round pick. I just don't think he was popular in the draft cycle. Caleb Banks, this pick was very unique. This Banks pick, because he's one of those combine freaks who had no sacks in college, like 3 or 4 tackles last year, and like 5 broken foot injuries.
Yeah.
Complete bust of a college career, but his physical measurements are maybe the greatest. He's the lengthiest tackle ever in the draft in arm length. He's huge, and the Vikings take a huge risk on him at 18. That one surprised me.
Do they have a GM?
No.
This is a O'Connell pick here?
This is an O'Connell pick.
Yeah, I was shocked by that one.
Whoever their assistant GM is probably running the show now.
He's a massive human being. He's massive.
Banks?
Yeah, I've seen him play at Florida.
Did you see Reuben Bain's dad?
I don't think so.
Huge, biggest guy ever.
Like big, like jacked, or big, like fat, or both?
He was like 6'5", 400 pounds.
Oh, so
and the way that the camera was on him, it was like a low angle right in front of him, and he took up half the screen. in the interview. They were interviewing Jason Taylor, and then they just pan over to, they're sitting 5 feet away from each other. They pan over to Bane's parents, who do the next interview, and he was just freaking huge, man.
Speaking of large human beings in Miami, Proctor, I kind of got the sense he was
Dude,
going to go
yeah, I wanted to talk about Miami. Worst draft. Hated this draft for the Dolphins. First of all, you traded Waddle for Chris Johnson, who good second-round corner value. Didn't think he should go this high. Might be a good player for sure. Caden Proctor, awful pick. Did you hear what Saban said about him?
No, what did Saban say about it?
Saban tried so hard to be complimentary, and he couldn't even about him. He said, this is the whole thing. He's like, once you get him in, he'll do whatever you need. But he has a lot of trouble when he's not there, keeping his weight down, staying focused on football. And he kept coming back to this. But once you get him there, like it's some impossible task to get him there. He's like, once you actually get him in the building and get him on the field at practice, love coaching him. But everything outside of that wasn't really that good, and he gains a ton of weight all the time. But once he's here, he does what you need him to do.
Like, he's a massive human being. You've seen the videos of him, running. He's had the ball in his hands, downfield blocking. Massive athletic player. But yeah, I had a friend tell me last night, like, he came in, he was 400 pounds. I think they redshirted him. So
that just feels like a tough project for Jeff Hafley in year one.
Yeah. Interesting stuff there.
Yeah. All right, night 2 tonight. It's going to be a fascinating one.
Night 2.
I'm pumped. I always like night 2. I think that the first 20 to 30 picks have really good value, better value in the second round than those picks like 17 to 32-ish had in the first round, 18 to 32-ish. I think this is a good value spot in the draft because after the first 16 picks last night, I thought, and with the exception of Ty Simpson, I thought everybody is a second-round grade. And Bane, too. So, like, just...
Can I ask you this? I know you're excited about 33.
Yeah, I was pumped.
Are you upset you no longer have 33, or are you just stoked that 33 got you Omar Cooper?
I'm a little disappointed I don't have 33, but I'd rather have Omar Cooper. Okay. But just for tonight, I would have liked to have 33.
You got 12 tonight. Guy. Yeah,
and I think what's important here about the Jets trade is they identified who they would have taken at 33. And they were, I'm guessing that he was like their 14th or 15th ranked player on their board, and nobody in the next 10 slots was still available. And they were just like, we're definitely taking him. We definitely really want him. Let's make sure we go get him right now and give up 179, which is like nothing. And they're back. I mean, they're back. How can I be upset they don't have 33?
Franchise is back.
We're back. We're having a 2015 Fitzpatrick year with Geno. I'm telling you now. I'm laying it on the table now. We are.
Who finishes with a better record? The Josh McDaniel-led Patriots or the Aaron-led Jets?
Jets. The difference between Vrabel and McDaniels is 10 wins. I mean, like, there's a 10-win difference between these two coaches.
You had me put on Boston Sports Radio yesterday. It was unbelievable. I listened for like an hour. I mean, it was one of the best decisions I've made all week.
Amazing.
And I'll probably listen again today. And
have to.
I think we can do an hour on Vrabel receiving right now. Like, I absolutely think we could.
Totally. I mean, I love it. And I said to Jack Lydon, big Patriots fan last night, I said, this has made me so happy. And that's probably a really concerning reflection on myself that two people that I don't know at all having an affair and destroying each of their families has just given me so much joy the last few days. That's not okay then. As a society, I feel that way, and I know that other people do too.
That's how much hate you have for the New England Patriots. I actually
Vrabel. I actually liked Vrabel forever.
I respect it. I really respect it. By the way, all we've done is crap on the Titans for letting them go. Maybe they do.
Solid, loyal guy. He's got like 11 kids.
Yeah, he's got too many kids. I mean, Christ.
Solid would never. He would never.
He can. Probably can.
No. Yeah, Titans. Good move, Titans. Good move. Brian Callahan also would never.
Right.
So they knew it.
Now in New York, right, Callahan?
All right, good stuff. Wrap it up here. Now that we're talking about Titans coaches not having affairs. Good first round. Follow along Instagram, TikTok for a ton of content on the entire weekend's draft. Make sure you take a listen to Mets Pod. They're back. 2 straight wins. Almost blew it last night. And
recording today. Recording in 40 minutes.
Everything else you could imagine is all on the table on BTO Instagram and TikTok. We're now on Substack, but that'll get more active in the next week or two. So just stay tuned on the Instagram and we'll post about it. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe, like, comment, do it all, and we'll see you in the next one.